Hi guys, welcome back to Making It. So this week we have another fantastic guest on the show. He has recently started a business in the Landing in Manchester. So he's fairly new to the business scene and the industry, particularly the tech industry. He's not really worked there, but obviously he's got an amazing incubator in the Landing. So some really good insight about the challenges he's found, where he's going, and his plans for the future. So, without waiting any longer, let's get on with the show. I hope you guys enjoy it, and welcome to Ste Bergin. Here we go. Hi guys, welcome back to Making It. Today we have on the show Ste Bergin. Hi Ste.
Hello.
Yeah, nice to have you on the show, mate. Really looking forward to today.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to it too.
Good stuff. We can go through some really good stuff, and I know we've got a lot to discuss. We've had a little chat before, and there's so much we want to kind of get out there and discuss. But before we get into all that, let's start off and find out a little bit about you. Obviously, you went to university to study art, and then you've kind of evolved from there. So tell us the story, mate.
Sure. So, yes, thank you for having me on, Will. Hello, everybody kind of listening, watching. My name is Ste Bergin. And yeah, so I guess background time. I studied at a university called the University for the Creative Arts, or UCA.
Yeah.
Graduated two years ago now, yeah. About May, June time, 2018 it was. And since then, so I studied and trained to be an actor, and sort of in the time of me learning to act, I started kind of doing like digital marketing as a side hustle.
Yeah.
And in that time, sort of towards the end of it, we traditionally in university you write like 8,000 words of like a dissertation.
Yeah.
2 years now, and in that time. Over the last year or so, I've been working on a secondary related project, which is an e-commerce platform for the film industry.
Yeah.
So tons to kind of go in there, but in a sentence, that platform helps filmmakers by getting the equipment in a way that they can afford financially.
That's obviously just launched now, hasn't it? As you're watching this video, that's just gone live, and obviously the link will be below this, guys, on the podcast. So please do click on that, go to that, and have a look at that. But yeah, tell us a little bit about that as well.
Sure, definitely. So it's still using the Spread Like Wildfire branding. So Spread Like Wildfire store, slwsstore.com.
Yeah.
And the story behind that was I was looking kind of about a year ago, just over a year ago, I think, at video equipment, renting it, buying it. I noticed that it's a massive hassle. And you look at the companies, and they're all, I don't want to sound like I'm bad-mouthing competitors, but you look at them and I think that everything they do in one way or another is wrong.
Yeah.
And I was looking at the market, and the rental market for filmmakers is very tricky because it's a very closed industry. So me kind of just being a university grad and going into the industry for the first time, I have to call up a rental house and say, hey, can I rent a Canon C300, just like a decent kind of camera for a project? They'd be like, no, go away, we don't know you, you're not in our industry, you're clearly here to rob our stuff.
Put the phone down.
And they only work with people they know. So as a newcomer, how do you get to know them?
How do you break into that? Yeah,
exactly. And then on the buying side, if you want to buy your own kit, it's very dry, very transactional based. And say camera's $5,000, you've got to have the $5,000 or you don't get the camera.
Yeah.
And that model I don't think works with the cash flow situation of a film production industry.
Yeah.
Of a film production company, sorry, in the industry.
Yeah.
And there's this catch-22 where if you had the kit, you'd be able to take on more jobs.
Yeah.
You need those jobs in order to afford the money.
Yeah.
And the solution to that is a cash flow issue. The solution is finance. and very few companies offer finance for film equipment, and the ones that do don't offer it in an accessible way. So I'm looking at input. So what the store does, Spread Like Wildfire store does, is it kind of aggregates buying equipment outright, rental of equipment, and finance of equipment all in one platform. So you, as the user, can empower yourself to decide what it is you need. And there is nothing like that in the industry. Every kind of competitor kind of has been going for decades and decades and decades. And I think the solution is that the film industry needs a tech startup to do this. It's not the mindset of the retailer doesn't actually apply to the solution. What a tech company can do does. So I just over about a year ago now, I think just under or just over a year ago, I moved into the Landing at Media City UK, which is a tech incubator. And I moved here solely as a production company. The idea for all this equipment stuff was, if I didn't have it already, it was like starting to brew, I suppose. And I felt a bit of a black sheep in here, black sheep of the family, so to speak, because I was this video guy in this tech incubator, and it felt like it didn't match. And then once the ideas started kind of coming about this, it's like, well, I'm in the perfect place for this. I could grab him over there, and I've got a website, you know, and that's what I did. So through the Growth Hub in Manchester, I raised some money, managed to put some money into the development of this. And got cracking. It's been a story, a year in the making, but development time 6-8 months on this. And we really, really, really have gone ham on this. This isn't, no offense to websites like this, but this isn't a WordPress or a Shopify website. This is like amazing what we've managed to build.
You got the full thing. So you mentioned then obviously the Landing and what kind of help and assistance and influence they've had. Now, I've looked at obviously your LinkedIn profile and some of the things you've done. I mean, they even helped you on one of the panels, didn't they, at the Digital City Expo, which must have been a great experience. I mean, that's amazing in itself.
Yeah, I loved it. So with the Landing, this is my only experience with a technology incubator. So I can't speak to the wider, in general, tech incubators, but the Landing as a tech incubator has been a place that, literally like an incubator for eggs, has allowed me to kind of grow. And my platform's launched, so I guess I've kind of hatched. And just the opportunities that such a place provides, like the Landing, it allows you to collaborate with people. It's they get people in that can help you in some way. So that, there's been kind of like Zoom kind of lectures, seminars in lockdown. Even before that, there was stuff kind of live in the building.
Do you think that's been a big thing for you, having that kind of shoulder to resource, that help and that resource? That
resource, it's huge. I wouldn't be where I am today without the Landing, for better or for worse. I love the guys here. They're great and they do great stuff. I wouldn't have known where to go, frankly. As a non-tech person in a tech space, I wouldn't know where to have gone for this. And I tried building this myself on a website builder on Shopify, and it just, I just couldn't make it work. I guess I kind of needed the model of a tech incubator to incubate me, but also incubate my idea. And in that, I guess, incubation period of about a year, just skyrocketed everything.
And would you definitely recommend people who are looking to start a business? And because I mean, that's what we're trying to do here. We're trying to create a community where people can lean on each other and kind of get insight from people like yourself who have started a company. Would you 100% recommend, get in touch with an incubator like the Landing and kind of get involved in that and sit down with them?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say there are a couple of parameters, and I say this as somebody that's kind of gone through the funnel. My advice to somebody looking for the very first time at this stuff is An incubator is great, but make sure it is an incubator that offers, they don't just say they're an incubator, but they're just an office space.
Yeah,
Make sure they offer stuff. The landing through their partnership with Barclays, there's Amazon Web Service credits,
yeah,
which has allowed me to host my platform on AWS, which I wouldn't have been able to otherwise. Connections and the landing, for example, it had to stop for a couple of reasons, but there was a bi-monthly pitch to investors, just an event every 2 months in the building.
yeah,
And those connections, you're looking for a place that can connect you, that can, I guess, advocate for you, and try and constantly push the barrier of what it can do in terms of getting you deals like AWS credits.
yeah.
There are other things in there. So the landing has a community manager, and he basically just kind of, not literally, but he'll drag you by the collar and say, Stephen, Stephen, talk.
Yeah, kind of meet
and, he's got this, you've got that. I know you both need to speak to each other, and then just bonk our heads together and then walk away and do it to somebody else. If that is the incubator, the type of incubator that you can find in your area, person that's watching or listening to this, that is what I would say you need as a startup. There are, I've looked out there like what the market offers, and there are some that say they're incubators and are basically just glorified offices.
Yeah. What do you think then? Obviously, I'm referring to a few articles you've written yourself and posted on LinkedIn. What would you say needs to change about? You mentioned then event spaces and like kind of butting heads and putting you together. What do you think needs to change in the future with that? Then do you think there needs to be?
I'm so glad you've asked me that question because I think if I've got one really good skill, it's identifying problems, not necessarily providing the answers for them, but definitely finding the problems.
That's what we're here for. Try and find some answers, and hopefully we can all come together. People can comment on this and give us the answers.
Yeah, leave a comment if you've noticed your own stuff, guys. But what I would say is that there is I think that some incubators that I've seen have a goal and they have their operation, and their operation doesn't necessarily align with their goal.
Yeah.
And so incubators should always be about growing startup businesses, usually tech, but not always. Growing startups, making these connections.
Yeah.
Growing the company in a way that they wouldn't be able to grow in that way without you. And some of the incubators that I find don't tend to offer that. And one thing that I've noticed that I think could be better, and I think the landing could do it better, frankly. Yeah. And they do it somewhat. I'll give them credit that they do it somewhat, but it can always be better. Is like I said about Chris, the community manager at the landing, kind of like dragging me by the collar and going, "You speak." That needs to happen with companies. And I don't mean startup companies. I mean, as in, for example, the landing is on the 6th floor. The co-working space is sponsored by Vodafone. If I was like a telco startup, I'd want Chris to drag me by the collar to meet up with somebody at Vodafone to talk.
Yeah. Do you think there needs to be a lot more of that then? The kind
of
I think coming and talking to the new boys on the block and the
there you go. The old guard meeting with the new kids on the block. I think that. I don't know how you justify it in terms of the KPI and numbers, but I think that to an extent, I'm trying to word it right. What I actually mean might not be what comes out of my mouth here, but I think that there should be an element of responsibility in a tech incubator to find work for the startups within it. Yeah. Obviously, there's a limit to that, and they're busy running their own thing. But so for example, I'm currently working. I don't know how much I can talk about it yet, but me personally, I'm speaking to somebody at Oracle, the big tech giant Oracle. And if Oracle was in a space like this, like there's all sorts of tech companies that, you can just drag by the collar and go speak. And I think that fresh blood will always do businesses like Oracle, like Vodafone, these big conglomerates, do them a world of good. Yeah. I've worked in these companies. I've funnily enough worked in Vodafone, and I've seen issues there that I think could be addressed on their end with some fresh blood in the startup side. And I think on the startup side, you get cash flow, which is what every, I think the saying is cash flow is king. Everybody kind of in starting out needs cash.
You need that funding, but you need the people and the connections around you to foster your idea and kind of grow it. And I suppose that's what you're saying really with the landing, and not necessarily the landing, but tech in general, they need to foster that environment and kind of give you the opportunity to speak to that. And that sometimes only comes when the like you say, the old guard do come down and mix with the new kids on the block, like you said. So I think it is important that we kind of create that, not just a startup community, but a community where the startups can talk to the big companies what are established and kind of pass that guidance on. And hopefully, through this show as well, and what we do here at Candor, we're going to create that connection, and that's the aim of what we want to do. And obviously that resonates with you guys, and I hope it will resonate with the big companies as well, the established companies. So it's definitely something I think needs to change, and obviously, you can see that from a startup side as well.
100%. I think there are other things that I probably would suggest as well, but fundamentally, it's an operation designed to help businesses.
Yeah.
The one thing important in small business is cash flow to survive. If something isn't meeting that one requirement, it's kind of it's not for now, but it could be better for purpose. And I think that should be something that's definitely concentrated on more. There are other things I think could be better in kind of the tech kind of incubator accelerator space. But definitely that's the big one, I think.
Yeah. No, I get that, and obviously, so what's the plans for you now? Obviously, post-pandemic, you launch your new e-commerce site. What's the plans for Spread Like Wildfire now? Where do you see yourself kind of going? And
that's a great question. There's a couple of projects, I guess, kind of like working away in the background that I would love to be able to say, but. About the things that I can say.
Tell us all about it in the future.
Oh yeah, I'll come back. We'll do another episode. But about the things that I can say, with Spread Like Wildfire store, it's all about kind of growing it, because there are some companies out there. There's not many. There are basically no startups in the, I guess, audiovisual e-commerce sector. It's basically the old guard. Nobody else has really come through. Yeah. With a few exceptions, but to the rule. But as a rule, there's no new blood there, so I'm not selling every piece of kit at the moment I'd like to, just because some brands, I suppose, of this kit are a bit wary, not in a suspicious sense, but this just doesn't happen, so we don't know how to sell to you and a new person in the space. We've been selling to everybody else for 30 years. So we don't, I've had that kind of, how do we do this kind of reaction from some of them, which will come with time, I suppose. Yeah. So I guess on the storefront, on the store side, more products, more innovation, growing what we have, more kind of providers, not just of kit, but of means of getting that kit. Yeah. So partnering with more rental companies, because we're not renting our own equipment ourselves, we're brokering other people's equipment and working with rental houses already there. So generating more rental partnerships, working with more finance providers for more flexibility of finance. Right now, we're just partnering with a company called Klarna, which is quite big in the finance space. But so that's on the store side. With Spread Like Wildfire Media, I guess as a non-tech person that's kind of been thrown in the deep end in this tech incubator, I've become techie. I run a tech startup. I've realized that, like what I mentioned there with startups needing cash flow. Yeah. There's been times in my business career, I suppose, over the last 2 or so years, where there's been a skyrocketed me but I just couldn't afford to pay for it.
Yes.
So what I'm doing with Spread Like Wildfire Media is I'm developing, I don't have a name for it. I guess it's a startup program of some degree where startup businesses can come to me and we work together. I get the work in for them, but payment is deferred over time. So that allows them to get the work in now and to pay me when the cash comes in.
Yeah, like that. Yeah. So
Yeah, well, it's important, I think, because
if people want to get involved in that and get in touch with you, how do they go about it? Did you just
cool. Well, I'll leave a comment on everything kind of down below with all my contact details, or I can send them you and you can edit them in. But yeah, if you go to slwfmedia.com, that there's nothing on there right at the moment because I'm still kind of developing this stuff. But if you kind of contact me through the contact form on the website, reach out to me on LinkedIn, and say I'm a startup, I need your help in digital marketing and video. Can we do something? I tell you kind of how it's working, how I expect to kind of work with you. So yeah, that's how you kind of get in contact with me. LinkedIn is the best, admittedly. I'm always on LinkedIn.
No, I think that's a great initiative, and I think a lot of smaller businesses, but don't necessarily want to invest in that, but need the business, so they have to invest in it, as we've said. That'll be a great way for them to kind of get involved, and obviously, hopefully, grow their business while helping you grow Spread Like Wildfire Media.
Exactly. Cash flow for me right now is with everything kind of launched and me working with kind of some clients that I've retained, I'm okay. So there's, I spoke to kind of business coaches about this, and they're like, oh, well, you're gonna in helping everybody else, you just kind of ride yourself into the ground. But I built myself up in a way where I don't, I can kind of take the deferred hit as long as money's coming in. I'm fine on that front. So there has been some hesitation, but on the startup side, people have been loving it. I've already trialed it with one company out in two companies out in Dublin. Yeah. Dublin, Ireland area, around Dublin. So yeah, people are interested definitely on the startup side. It's just kind of right now the plan is kind of to develop a formal program, I suppose.
Yeah, no, I like it. No, I like it a lot, mate. I mean, for me, sitting down with you is really good. It's been amazing insight into what it takes to start something, and that's what's key here. And the assistance you've needed, and the direction, and then obviously how the idea has grown from that, and what you're going to create in the future and are creating now is so unique and different. I think it's definitely worth kind of getting out there. And
I know how to do different. I don't think I've ever done things by the book. Not intentionally. It always just seems to happen that I do something bloody different. So yeah, that's me in a nutshell, Will. Thank you for kind of recognising that as a thing.
No, not a problem, mate. I mean, always one question though I do want to ask you, and I always ask on this now who comes in the show. What is the best piece of advice you've ever had, and how would you kind of evolve that and throw it back at me now for people out there looking to do something different?
I love questions like this because I love helping people as much as possible. I guess in terms of the context of the podcast, it's about businesses, especially small businesses. Find a way to, when you get knocked down, find a means of getting back up again. There has been so many times where I've just wanted to go back out there and get an office job, desk job, whatever, and just say, screw it, I hate this. But when those big kind of knocks have happened to me, I always just say that I have a moan about it, and I get up the next morning and I do the same thing over and over and over again. I'm not there yet. I'm still where everybody is, more or less, watching and listening to this probably. But I know that I will get there. Repetition, getting there. Just if something happens,
just keep going.
Like Chumbawamba, I get knocked down, I get up again. You're never going to keep me down.
We can put that song in as well at the end. Don't worry, we can edit that in. But yeah, no, you just got to get on with things. Keep going. Exactly. Don't let the bad knock you down. Take it on board and plod forward. And I think that's a great thing to say and a great way to finish on. Note to finish on for everyone out there looking to do it. So no, it's been
amazing talking to you today. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope everyone watching.
I had a blast, bro.
Yeah, good stuff. And you know, I hope people gain some insight from this, and hopefully we've helped someone, and someone gets in touch with you as well. Find out a bit more about Spreads Like Wildfire, and we can go from there. Perfect. So thank you guys for watching, and cheers for coming on, Steve.
No worries. Have a great day, guys. Thank you.
Cheers.
Hi guys, I hope you enjoyed the show as much as I did filming it. You know, Steve is a really nice guy. You know, he's obviously just started his business and his journey, and it's great to see that from that perspective. And I hope you saw that as well, and you enjoyed the content. If you're keen to come on the show, I'm looking to speak with startups, scale-ups across the north. You know, really keen to have a chat with you guys and get your business out there and what you're about and advertise you. But not only that, I'd love to speak to the bigger companies as well, you know, people who've been there and done that and grew and would like to give back to the community, the startup community, and give that insight to them and help them grow. You know, at the end of the day, the point of this platform, the point of the Making It podcast and what we do here at Canda is to accelerate company growth and kind of help that, you know, grow all together. So really keen to speak to you guys. Please give me a call, drop me a line, drop me an email, message me on LinkedIn, follow the Canda page for more content like this. I hope you've enjoyed it, guys, and speak to you soon. Cheers.